Welcome back to the channel. I want to show you guys how to use color palette for looking at scenes and breaking them down. So let's jump in. Here I got a bunch of stills laid out from some movies that I grabbed from filmgrab.com. So I layered those in, and if we jump over to the color page here, you can see we have this little palette graticule. Now how I added that in was over on the timeline section of the nodes. So if you normally go here, you can see it says clip, and there's two dots right here. You can either click on this secondary dot or use the drop down and choose timeline. And this will be a timeline wide node. So whatever you put on here will go across the timeline. I've shown this before. And then I just typed in color from the effects and dropped in the color palette, which looks like this. Just put it on the node, and by default, you get this little color palette down below. Now there are some options. You can actually look at just the shadows. You can look at the midtones, and you can look at the highlights. And there's a couple sliders, and you can actually change the number of palette display. But this is good for going through your scene and seeing what tones are present. So here, if we go through, we can see we've got some of the clothing, we've got the darker shadows represented, and then we have the peaks as well. So if you're looking for what kind of colors and tones they're using, how it's stylized, that's what this is good for. So you can see sort of this off-colored mustard, and then you got there just the upholstery of the fabrics, the paint tones. This is a stylized sort of 60s look, and you can see how the shadows are looking, any of the blooming on the lights, all that'll come through. Now let's go to another movie here. This one is John Wick, which happens to be super stylized. So if we start going through here, we can see we really got a lot of split toning going on and some really pushed colors. So all this area behind him in the shadows is really like greenish teal, a lot of cyan in there, and that's reflected down here. And then you can see the color in the reds are more pushed towards magenta. If we open our scopes up here, and we do a 2 viewer, you can see how saturated this is. And you will get these little marks on your waveform showing where the palette's sitting. So if we disable that, you can see all the palette marks go away. But you can start to analyze where everything's sitting inside of your shots and look at skin tones and things like that. So if we keep going down, you can see we really do have a lot of this teal, cyan, and pushed reds on all the action scenes. Here's a flashback shot where we have more of the muted browns and just earth tones, a little warmer. It is that time of day too. Here we can look at his skin tone, and then you can see the warmth of the light here, some of the shadows with some of the green, and where his shadows are sitting inside his jacket. So if we look here, you can also see if we shut the timeline palette off, look how bright the shadows are in the luminance channel and in the green. So that's giving the black portion more of this raised up, green look to it. It's also just part of the John Wick signature look here. And so that is color palette. You can really start to look at some scenes. Like if we look at this outdoor walking shot, there's quite a bit of teal and cyan going on. Even though this is light cast down a street, they're still keeping that theme going. And then let's look at a couple more. Here's one from Fight Club. So this is a little bit older of a film, but you can see a lot of these grays and blues are still present. All here, skin tones right on the money, and how you can check that, of course, if we switch to a 1 viewer. I think I showed you this before, but if we switch this to vector scope, we have this little line here, and if we go to the 3-dot menu, we say show skin tone indicator, and as long as we have our display qualifier focus, when we move over to his skin tone, you can see the circle highlights right where it needs to. Very nice. So that's a good way to see where things are sitting. Let's go back to the parade here, and we'll look at a few more shots. So you can see a lot of those grays and blues are kind of present in a lot of the shots, kind of that cold look. Skin tones are excellent on this movie, of course. And we could look at the shadows here, really getting down to baseline. Let's go ahead and turn off this timeline node, and you can see here the shadows are all sitting at baseline. So that lets you see the difference in the pushed blacks or anything that's on the screen. So what tones are they emphasizing? And that's pretty much it. So that's all I wanted to show you. Just a way to look use the color palette to dissect some of your favorite scenes and see what's going on. It's a good little tool and lets you kind of dial in on the looks that people are trying to achieve or going for throughout a movie or a series. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.